I'm in view. I also hope you're having a good Memorial Day. And I also hope that, like, maybe this modest video, this humble production of mine will encourage you to take this idea or ideas that you've had and actually go forth with them, you know, and create an income base for yourself. I told my kids when they were growing up that you should get an education so you can get, you know, a good job, but you should also, along with that, be able to do something with your hands, whether or not it's landscaping or woodworking, being a carpenter, laying bricks, anything. You need to be adaptable. Just like creatures, just like plants, the ones that are adaptable survive. You should also be thinking about, like, ideas that you have, because ideas are only really good if you pursue them. I have, John, why do you have a bunch of dumb little rubber airplanes on your desk in your office in the nature center? Aren't you a natural resources professional? Why, yes, my friends, but I am also a fan, it's a clock, a fan of flying things, and I always have. I'm going to just discuss the lineage of these things right here, and then I'm going to get into a little bit about how I have gotten into bows, and then how you can, like, take these ideas that have been just sitting on the shelf for a while and actually pursue them. First, I'm just going to say I'm a fan of production lines. You know, you can't do it with bows. To some very limited extent you can. They're one-off. But I'm always fascinated by production lines. For example, if you are from Michigan or close by and you've been to Mackinac Island and you ride the Shepler ferry line, when you disembark the boat at the dock on Mackinac Island, you go underneath this big arch and you're walking under the eaves on the Shepler building that I helped. It was a group effort, but I came up with the production methods in the carpentry shop to reproduce the formers for these things. You're walking past the, what would you call those, the pillars on the side, which are constructed kind of like a model airplane with formers and stringers and everything. And I came up with the quick and easy method of reproducing those wooden parts that went into those. So I'm fascinated by production lines. In the 20s, there was a guy named Jim Walker, and he came up with the American Junior line of airplanes. He was noted for control line. Probably if you're a control line flyer, you're aware of the Fireball and other ones. But he also came up with this little Hornet along with little gliders, and he was an inventor that actually took his ideas into fruition. He came up with this really cool glider. It's a catapult glider, you know, rubber band, get it going. And the wings are folded up when you're launching it, and then they unfold in flight. And he did this a long time ago. He was a clever dude. This one is the Hornet, which is renowned. It's a reproduction. It's made by the modern American Junior Company, but these things were made back in the 40s. And so Jim Walker in the late 20s came up with these methods of producing these planes, along with the control line planes, taking balsa wood. I think he came up with the slicing method. He probably didn't buy it like at a hobby shop, pre-sliced to, you know, certain dimensions, but he came up with slicing methods and also pressing with steam to get the airfoil in these things, and then the dihedral. And so I think this is fascinating how he did this. Now, he had a couple of brothers, the Cleveland brothers, that left his company. There were lawsuits. Oh yeah, it was contentious. But the Cleveland brothers came up with a company called North Pacific that was based in, I think, Bend, Oregon. He was in Portland. They were in Bend, Oregon. And North Pacific, the Cleveland brothers, came up with such designs as this little glider they had, the Astronaut, the Sleek Streak, which this is a classic, Starflyer, and probably some more. And what the Cleveland brothers did, they devised this clever little extruded plastic piece that clips everything together. That was theirs. That was the Cleveland brothers. One of them died in 1958, but the other one continued on into the 70s. The Sleek Streak is the classic one. I used to buy these by the bucket load when I was a kid. Go to the dime store and pick them up for 25 cents, and I've had so many Sleek Streaks. This is the classic. A guy in an airplane actually saw one of these things floating around in a thermal at 5,000 feet. The Sleek Streak rules. Now you can go on eBay and buy an actual North Pacific Sleek Streak, but it turns out, if you know them, you know that this isn't a North Pacific Sleek Streak. This is a Comet, which in the 70s, North Pacific went under, but Comet bought all their materials and then continued on. This doesn't have the North Pacific logo on the wing, so I know that this is a Comet. But they came up with this extruded piece here, which you could probably do too with a little bit of thought. This is not high tech. This is not like building Lamborghini. And they came up with these very efficient propellers. That's a North Pacific thing. They didn't invent this little thrust part up here that the bearing that the propeller rides in. It also has included landing gear. That was Jim Walker. But to move on, Comet came out with these things, the Sleek Streak, that look basically like the North Pacific Sleek Streak. Slightly different dimensions, but I can't afford $100. My wife would be upset. Actually, no, she's a pretty good gal. I would be upset at myself if I bought a little rubber band airplane for $100. So I bought a Comet for $20. Okay, moving right along, Comet went under, and then it was bought out by Gwillows, and they went back to this. There's a slot in here, and it's steam pressed. They got rid of this little extruded thing, but these came about by a guy that just had this idea for balsa wood model airplanes and created a whole industry that lasts until now. You can go and get one of these Gwillows, what is this, a Jetstream. I dyed it with my aero dye, painted little skull and crossbones on the rudder, a vertical stabilizer. You can still buy these things, and they're quite nice. I did replace the propeller with a PEC polymer because it's more efficient, and this is not the original rubber band on here. I could go on, but with a long rubber band and the PEC polymer propeller, which I don't need on this because North Pacific came out with efficient propellers. The Gwillows aren't so keen. You know, you can do several circles with these things. What does this have to do with anything? Well, this was just a simple idea that somebody ran with and created an industry, which you can do with bows, you can do with plants if you're into plants. You just have to come up with a process where you can mass produce things. Mass produce, not to the number of an iPhone, but, you know, mass produce 20 a week, anything. It helps your income. So what can you do? What ideas do you have that you can run with? The biggest thing here is don't just sit on them. Actually work on them. Develop them. It's interesting to me that the sailboats, the Sunfish, started out in life as a guy, actually a couple guys. It was a partnership. I think it was just two guys. It designed this boat and built the forms to do the fiberglass work and started in their garage. And now, how many Sunfish are out there? Now, as far as I'm concerned, you know, there are a lot of bows out there, a lot of bow manufacturers. I can't really production line mine, especially with the artwork, because they're kind of one-off. But I was thinking that I bet I can come up with the methods to mass produce, to some extent, mass is a relative term, a simple crossbow using red oak for the prod, little bit of this and that, coming out with a nice wooden crossbow. I think that at this point in my life, even though I've only made 3 crossbows, I have a good start on it. I could no doubt come up with a nice, somewhat mass-produced crossbow. I can reproduce quickly, relatively quickly, you know, and go that route. Along with making paddle bows and everything else I do, I'm fascinated by the production methods of a crossbow. I think I could do a pretty good job because I have a grasp on it now that I beat 300 yards with a white ash crossbow. But that's my message for today. Take it for what it is. If nothing else, I want you to sit down, come up with something that you're knowledgeable about or wish to become knowledgeable about, analyze it from every angle, come up with little production methods, and start your own business. You can do it. You absolutely can do it. The only thing that is stopping you is you. And it looks like a car is coming in here. I've had a break. Usually Memorial Day itself, the Monday is relatively quiet because everyone's at the parades or driving home, going back to work whence they came. Got a great group in here now. Mom, Dad, and a little girl who spent 45 minutes in the nature center looking at everything. And so I have no doubt they're going to be on the trails, walking respectfully, observing nature, and enjoying themselves immensely on this fine, fine day. Next I hear from you, I want to hear in the comment section that, John, yeah, I just started work on my own entrepreneurial endeavor. It's a good thing. We all have the potential to be successful on our own. And with that, adieu, arrivederci, ciao. I'm going to have to learn goodbye in Japanese and Chinese too, because I have people from Asia that watch me. And I appreciate that, like, there's so many people around the world that speak English better than I speak a second language, that's for sure. See ya.